everyone, welcome to Eve Talks It All, a general podcast that is part of the TV Socialites Podcast Network. I post both video and audio episodes on things like books, movies, TV, video games, music, and so on and so forth. Today we have a book video on our hands, and it is kind of a continuation of a video that I made about 2 years ago that was ABCs of horror tropes, or thrillery tropes as well, a bit of a mixture that just match a trope to a book. And I have some more tropes for you. I tried for them to all be different, and I tried recommending different books, but there might be a couple repeats. It's been a while, so if there are, then sorry about that. But yeah, I think we should just... So we have Amusement Park of Doom, which kind of speaks for itself, an amusement park setting that has something wrong with it, where unsuspecting visitors come and meet their brutal ends. So I have a few to recommend. So my first one is Cotton Candy Massacre by Christopher Robertson. This is about a group of killer clowns who inhabit an abandoned circus that gets renewed for use for tourists and visitors and so on. And of course, everyone who goes there doesn't go well for them. It is a part of a trilogy, and I've not read any of the others. I liked it enough to want to. I'm the worst when it comes to keeping up with the series, honestly. If you're including this, then technically I'm a part of, like, I don't know, 10 series, and yeah, I need to prioritize. So yeah, it is kind of unique in its writing style, in a sense that it's not exactly a novel, but it's also not a movie script. It's kind of an in-between. It's like how you would imagine a film play out in your head, I would say, and it can take a little bit for you to wrap your head around. So I understand if that's not your thing, then maybe this is not the one for you, but if you're open to trying that out, then I would recommend that. I thought it was just a little bit long as well. As you can see, it's chunky, but again, if you don't mind a little bit of character build-up before things start going down, then this is definitely the right decision. And then I have Cirque Berserk by Jessica Guess. We have a group of teenagers go to this abandoned amusement park, and shit goes down. This one really surprised me because it didn't focus on what I thought it would, and it kind of in the best way. It really made an interesting twist on the slasher subgenre and the whole amusement park thing. It was really interesting to see how that evolved, and I ended up rooting for characters I did not expect to root for, and I would say that it's perfect for, like, if you want to get closer to your yearly goal, or if you're in a bit of a slumpy mood, because it is really quick. It is literally like, it is 160 pages, so you can get through really quickly. It reads really fast, and it's just good fun. And then I got Taste Like Candy by Vitaland. I know that's a pseudonym even, sorry, by the author, but I forgot her actual name. I know that it's been reprinted under her actual name, the same title. So this is about a group of teens who go to, again, an abandoned amusement park to celebrate their graduation from high school, and kind of just have a bit of a good time and prank each other, and they all start dying one by one in horrible, brutal ways. And it was crazy in the best way. I was living, laughing, loving, vibing, honestly. Some of the most creative kills that I've ever seen, or read about, I should say. Honestly, I would love for this to be a movie, because it read like a movie, but like not in a specific way. It was just so vivid that I kept imagining it. I loved it, and I do want to read a sequel, even though I know that it is not very well received. But yeah, I'd probably reread this as well. I am tempted to buy the new version so that I could buy the second one, because it's completely out of print, and have them matching, but am I that bothered? And I have The Bad Guy Wins, and it kind of speaks for itself. A book that doesn't have a nice ending, a book where whatever bullshit is going on prevails. And spoiler, well, I'm not going to tell you what happens, but just to let you know what you can expect for this book going in, because this is the sort of trope that's kind of impossible to talk about without actually telling you what happens, tonally at least, in the story. So spoilers for this book. If you don't want spoilers, then skip like 30 seconds. Small Town Horror by Ronald Malfi. This is a kind of like a cross between I Know What You Did Last Summer and It. It features a group of adults that did something horrible on July 4th weekend as teenagers, and one of them is now a successful lawyer, but he's drawn back to this small town by his friends who are stuck there. Their lives aren't going the way that they thought they would, and it's just, it's a really dark story, and it really shows you a lot of how people deal with guilt, how they justify their actions to themselves, how they deal with their life not panning out how they imagined. And yeah, the ending is definitely one of the darkest ones that I've read. It's not like necessarily bleak for the sake of it, but it's the sort of thing where you know immediately tonally that going into this book you're not gonna get a happy ending. So I'm just letting you know that. Don't expect them. So the calls are coming from inside the house is a very well-known trope. I mean, there's a literal movie, When a Stranger Calls, that made bank on this, and I mean, the movie as a whole is meh, but the first 20 minutes or so would have been like perfect as its own separate thing. But anyway, everyone's worst nightmare, right? So basically, I kind of just took a little bit of liberty and just kind of finding out danger in your home, essentially what I went with. Not necessarily like a phone element or whatever, because that would be quite specific. So just a couple of slashers, Babysitter Bloodbath and The Sleepover Massacre. Both follow quite similar formulaic stories of an escaped convict or mental patient hunting down teenagers who are either babysitting or having sleepovers. I mean, neither of these left me like a super lasting impression like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. But if you're looking for an invasive type of slasher where someone who has horrible intentions is trying to get inside your home, and they get inside your home and they want to do horrible things, then these are definitely the right. Then I got Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. This is kind of like a sci-fi horror that's been said to be a mix of The Shining and Titanic, where we have space scavengers going on a mission to retrieve something, and they come across this ship that is basically, you're meant to imagine the Titanic, but a spaceship. It's it was meant to be the ship's maiden voyage, like the first kind of like again a cruise ship for space journeys, but it was never found after a tragedy, and they find it and think, okay, if we can bring this ship back, then we can claim the glory and be super rich and all that jazz. But they soon find out that there's something inside the ship that is not going to make it easy for them. And the reason I think it fits this is because it's very isolated, and it's a space that it's literally in space. There aren't many places for our main characters to go hide and look for comfort and safety, and it feels very invasive to know that there's something evil lurking in the shadows. So yeah, that's the vibe. And then the last one I got is Hex by Thomas Olde-Hewelt. I'm butchering that, sorry. But this is kind of like a twist on a haunted story, because we have a whole town that is basically cornered off from the rest of the world, kind of. But people can leave, but if they leave for more than a few days, they're going to start feeling suicidal. And all of this is because there's this ghost of a witch that haunts the town, and She can just go inside people's homes and stand there, and everyone kind of like makes do with their lives, just doing things around her, I guess. But there are scenes where people are literally out and about or in their homes doing their business, and she's just there. I mean, invasive. This book fell off for me in the last third, but if you're looking for something super dark, then Deader Than Dead kind of speaks for itself. I got Dead and Drive-In, and it's not just because it is, it's got dead in the title even. This is just like a short, literally 50 or so pages, novella about 3 teenagers who go to see some of their favorite horror movies at a drive-in, and they find out that their villains of these movies are coming back to life, and they are definitely not just looking to have a little bit of a chat about what it's like to live in the real world. No, they want to do some murderous things. Like I said, in one of my wrap-ups, I don't remember if that video is still up there or not, because I know I deleted some, but just for the sake of it, I'll repeat myself in case that video is deleted now, because I was tidying up the channel. But I have no idea how they got past the copyrights, considering they mention stuff like Michael Myers and whatnot by name, so kudos. Yeah, it's just, again, it's good fun. It is super quick. Again, to add to your reading goal, or to make you feel accomplished, that you can breeze through this in, like, I don't know, depends how fast you read. I think this took me like half an hour. Yeah, just it's a good time, even if it's not particularly. Enfant Terrible, which means a child who is evil, and what better book to recommend than The Push. It's about a woman who is dumped by her husband, and she's reeling from this divorce and observing her husband's life with his new partner now and their kid, and we just sort of get to see how she got to that point. And we see that they had 2 children, and one of them our main character really did not bond with, and this book talks a lot about lack of maternal instinct, lack of familial connections, generational trauma, and stuff like that. So I mean, it's one of my favorite books of 2024, because that's the year I read it in, and it's definitely up there with my favorite books ever, although that question is so difficult. Like, I could not tell you just a few of my favorites, because I have so many, but it is definitely up there. It's a very strong 5-star. I'm pretty sure I've sang praises of this book multiple times in multiple videos. I'm sure some of them are still up, but it's definitely a way to describe and condense this evil child trope into something that doesn't feel overly theatrical or corny. It actually feels dressed up in a sophisticated way to actually explore the fears of motherhood and societal expectations that fall on women to love motherhood. And that's something that definitely needs to be talked about. Right, then we have Final Girl. Again, kind of speaks for itself. It's the last girl or boy standing after a massacre. What do we have here? I'm just including, by the way, sorry if I keep moving my chair. I'm just taking books as I go, because I find that it's easier than to take out all 20-30 books that I want to talk about in the video and then have to slot them back in and forget where I put them. So, yeah, just a few slashers, because again, it makes sense with the trope. Clown in the Cornfield, yet another trilogy, and I do want to read the others. It's a problem. I can't keep up. Anyway, here we have a teenager who moved to a small town with her dad, and the town is very, it's definitely an allegory for bread things in America, and they have killer clowns that start hunting them down. It's pretty much like, I would say that's probably the most action-filled slasher that I've ever read, because a lot of them obviously rely on slow building suspense and picking people off one by one. This is like, you know what? No. We're gonna go guns blazing, literally. Yeah, if you're looking for a bit of a twist to the slasher, then this is definitely a good one. For that, it reads a bit YA, because technically I think this is classed as YA. I'm not sure exactly, but I would say that if you don't mind that little bit of a juvenile, youthful feeling, don't let it deter you, because it's fun. It is good fun, and it's, as you can see, it is a bit of a chunker, but because it is written in that more youthful YA vibe, it doesn't really feel like it. I read it in one go on, I think it was under 3 hour plane journey. So then I got Breathe In Bleed Out. I keep recommending this book a lot, but I just think it fits into everything. We have Hannah, who is going on this retreat at the, like, her friends made it happen, basically. She is grieving her fiance's tragic passing while they were out on a hike together, a wilderness sort of thing. So her friends think that it will help her to compartmentalize and process her grief, to go on this retreat. But there's a killer there in this desert that is taking them out one by one, because of course, and Hannah has to face a lot of things to, in order to be able to stay alive and beat this bastard. So yeah, just a really versatile book. It has a little bit of everything. I keep saying it has a bit of a cult aspect, it has a slasher aspect, the kills are really creative. It's just a very good time. I really liked it. I keep saying the ending is the weakest part of the story, but it makes sense, it's just not what I would have preferred. And I loved the journey to that ending, so it didn't really. We have Gross Up Close Up, so it just says horrifically horrifying things up close, so anything gory or excessive will do. Heads Will Roll by Josh Winning, I think applies, because this follows a cancelled celebrity who goes on a camping retreat to center herself and gather herself, but people start dying, because of course, why not? This is just a regular Tuesday, right? People dying everywhere all the time in this camp. So I remember thinking that for a book that's quite campy, pardon my pun, in tone, the kills are brutal. There are a lot of brutal deaths here. I don't think personally that this is my favorite slasher. Like, it wouldn't be in that tier, like my top tier slashers of all time. I gave it a 4, but it's a good time nonetheless. And then I'm not gonna pull the next book out because it's in like a horizontal pile, but it is actually The Shards by Bret Easton Ellis. It's kind of like a semi-autobiographical book about Bret as a student at this prep school in LA, and he gets convinced that his classmate is a serial killer, and it's the only book of this author that I kept. I decided that I'm not interested in the rest of his catalog for multiple reasons, but this one, it combined lots of aspects of mystery, thriller, even a bit of a horror with the lit-ficky drama. I enjoyed it, and it was a good experience, but there are definitely passages that are very graphic, and not just violence, but also lots of like graphic sex scenes and a lot of things that I don't necessarily think needed to be in that much detail, so I definitely think that it falls into that trope. But this author's style is not for everyone, so it's definitely more of a recommendation because I think that it fits the trope rather than I would recommend this book to everyone, because I don't think that it's a commercially friendly recommendation. that's how I'm gonna. Then we have human sacrifice. Again, very self-explanatory. And again, mild spoilers. I'm not gonna tell you what happens, but still be aware if you don't want to hear spoilers for a book, then skip like 30 seconds or so. But we have Lost in the Garden by Adam S. Leslie. This is kind of like a folky, psychological, fever dream type of horror about a world where the dead are just roaming the earth and everyone's just super chill about it, acting like it's just a normal thing, waiting in line for a Starbucks or something. And our main character's boyfriend goes to kind of the center of it all and goes missing. So her and her two closest female friends go to find him, and they end up in this town that is called Almonby. And shit goes down. It is definitely, again, I don't think it's a book for everyone because it's quite specific. I did not expect to love it, but I'm really glad that I did. I found it really unique, and there are still scenes, chapters that are stuck in my brain. It's I mean, you're gonna be thinking like, what the fuck did I just read? But there is an aspect of sacrificing humans for a certain reason in the story. And again, I'm not gonna tell you who or how, partially because I don't exactly remember the details, partially because I don't want to spoil you the plot. But there's definitely an aspect to that fits. So yeah, I wanted to. Then we have I See Dead People, which again, very self-explanatory. Duh. And we have City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. This is a middle grade, actually. And it is about our titular character, Cass, who can see ghosts. And it helps her solve things in regards to the show that her parents are doing. Sorry, I'm probably not explaining it super well, but I read it 6 years ago, probably. I remember it being good fun. It obviously, because it is a middle grade, well, you know what to expect, right? Nothing super gory or like super sexual or anything like that. Nothing super dark, but it definitely has that touch of V. Schwab's writing that translates across all age groups, and it still feels really elevated and not necessarily dumbed down just because people reading it are like 12-year-olds. And again, another technically series. I need to keep reading it because I think that it's going to be good fun, even if I'm definitely not in the right demographic for. Then Kill the Lights is obviously when the book starts in, or a movie, when it starts in the setting that has lighting, and then for one reason or another the characters are stranded in the dark. And I actually got Survive the Night by Daniel Vega here. This is about a group of young adults. One of them, our main character, has just left rehab because of drug problems. They get stranded in New York Underground in complete darkness after a rave gone terribly wrong, and they think that someone or something is after them. Again, this is definitely more like a, I don't believe in the term, but it's like a guilty pleasure sort of book, where just enjoy the ride and don't overthink it sort of thing. I vaguely remember bits of it, but yeah, I mean, I understand people not necessarily loving it because the ending did leave me a bit like, huh? But I think that it's just a good time, good little bit of trashy fun of unlikable people seeing their end, basically. And sometimes you need. Then we have Life or Limb Decision, which is, again, having to choose to stay where you are and die or cut a limb off to escape. So again, bit of a spoiler for an upcoming book. Again, skip half a minute or so. Basically, we have Deadhead, which is book 3 of Sweet Pea series, and Sweet Pea is a book series about Rhiannon Lewis, a serial killer who pretends that she's completely normal, happy tee. again, this is book 3, so by default I can't exactly tell you the synopsis of it without spoiling what happens in the first 2 books, but all you need to know is that everything in this book picks up right after the events of the second one, and shit keeps going down further and further. And again, not telling you exactly what happens, but there is a scenario where a character needs to make this choice, and it is as graphic as you'd expect it to be, because for all their cute and colorful covers, these books are not for the faint of heart. They are very gory and messy, in the best possible way. So, yeah, definitely give this series a go. I think when I finish, I have 2 books left, I want to talk about the series in general. And I think it might be a bit tricky in my brain because I started reading it last July, so I'm already a bit fuzzy, but I'm sure I can just skim through some bits and remember what I want to say. So, potential video idea in the future. Then I have mundane horror, where real life is scarier than the supernatural, which is, well, I completely agree with that sentiment. And my choices for that would be The Love Song of Nathan Crane by E. Reyes. This is an incel who is very clearly a sociopath and can't take no for an answer, which is one of the most terrifying things you can think of, and it happens in real life all the time. I will immediately say that I was taken aback a bit by how graphic parts of this book were. There are graphic depictions of sexual assault, which I was not expecting, but that's on me for not checking trigger warnings, so I'm just letting you know that if that's something that you're sensitive to, then skip this one. I was definitely a bit like, oh, okay, I'll skip that. But yeah, this is definitely a graphic book, and again, just the way that this guy acts, the way that he sees people as these disposable things, and he just treats murder as such a mundane thing, like going to get milk from the shop. It's terrifying. I mean, the writing is, you know, it's kind of like what you'd expect from this sort of story. The writing doesn't seem to take itself that seriously, which probably actually might be in its favor. But yeah, if you can handle something that is definitely disturbing and gross and graphic, then do check this one out. And then I have something that's a little bit more palatable. Well, maybe not. I meant more in writing style rather than in content. But we have The Lamb by Lucy Rose, and this is about a mother and daughter who live in the middle of nowhere. Well, we're meant to think in the middle of nowhere, but she still goes to school. And they lure people who get lost and eat them. So, yeah. Maybe palatable was not the right choice of the word, but you know what? I said it, and I do regret it, but at the same time, you know what? Brain is not braining. No brains. Literally. But everything changes for this very messed up dynamic when the girl's mother falls in love with another woman, and this woman starts trying to push the daughter out of their life. This is as much of a story of, again, familial trauma and rejection and seeking for approval as it is about anything else. And just the fact that you see her going to school and being around normal families and being subjected to this at home is just very disturbing. I really enjoyed this book. Well, and maybe enjoyed's not the right word. Maybe it's more of I found it very promising for this author's future. That would be I think that's the more accurate thing to say, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she does next with her career. So, yeah. Then I have Never Sleep Again, and I should just mention that I am probably going to skip a couple of letters just because I could not think of anything, and I don't want to force a book that doesn't necessarily fit. So just letting you know that I'm going to be skipping O, P, and R because I don't think I could find a trope that I've not done before that starts with an R, because some alphabet letters just had like maybe a couple on the website to begin with. But yeah, we have Never Sleep Again. And for this, I have 2 books. I'm not gonna pick out one of them because it's again in a pile, but you can see it here. So Middle of the Night by Riley Sager features a man who, when he was 10 years old, his close friend got abducted from a tent in their backyard, where they were having a sleepover, and he's not been able to recover from that since. He's not been sleeping, he's been punishing himself, and 30 years later or so, he goes back to his hometown and he realizes that there's more to the story, and maybe he could actually find out what happened to his friend and get some closure. That's pretty much that. It's one of Riley's least loved books by the fandom, but I liked it. I mean, I like all of his books, even the worst ones. They're still a fun ride. So yeah, I don't have that much else to add, but it definitely fits with the theme of not being able to sleep or having nightmares when you finally do. And then I have Insomnia by Sarah Pinborough, which is basically like completely lives up to the title of the trope, I mean, because we have our main character who is scared of going to sleep because her mother had the sleep disorder around the time of her 40th birthday, and our main character is turning 40 within a few weeks. So she's actually afraid of becoming like her mother, because when she started exhibiting symptoms of this disorder, her mother tried to kill her and her sister when they were little. I went a very long roundabout way of saying this, but you get what I mean. Basically, again, more familial trauma, generational trauma. So she's scared of sleeping, and she notices the same symptoms that her mother experienced starting to appear in her. And this was a fine book. It intrigued me enough. I think it dropped off a little bit at the end for me. I think I gave it a 4, but yeah, overall, still a fun time. We have Stock Slasher. Yes, another slashery trope. Again, horror slashers. Well, duh, you will see a lot of them if I'm talking about these sort of things. So this one is when a slasher is very invincible in a way. And we have Disco Death Trap for our book here. And I read this fairly recently. This is Cameron Robiquet's story about a bunch of school kids celebrating New Year's at a roller disco, so ringing in 1981, and they don't come out alive, most of them anyway. That's made clear from the very start of the book. And when the killer does come out to reap and so on, it is brutal, and it definitely gives you the impression that it's just this force of nature moving around and just slicing and dicing the entire student body. Sorry, I keep making these unintentional puns, and this time I actually did not mean to make one. But yeah, it is literally raining blood in that disco. And is the killer actually invincible? Well, if you know, you know. If you don't, then I'm not gonna spoil it, of course. But what matters is the impression of the scene, chapter, whatever. And it's raining blood. Well, should not sound so happy about that, but it was such a fun read, honestly. Even if certain things didn't make the most logical sense, I had a great time with it. Sue me. Actually don't, because I don't have money. But yeah, I will stand by. I have teen horror, which again, self-explanatory, a horror story primarily centering around teens, and it can be a bit juvenile, I guess. But I got Most Likely to Die by P.G. Stanley. This is a slasher where a high school couple sorry, not a couple. I was thinking of a different book. Well, to be fair, I'm pretty sure that a couple does get murdered in this book, but essentially we have our main character who is targeted by this killer, but first they want to get through all of her friends and everyone who's important to her, kind of to make her suffer, and we're witnessing our character come to terms that she is a bit of a bully and a bit of a mean girl sort of thing. It is definitely quite juvenile. I would say that if you are not a big fan of YA, maybe skip this one, but if you don't mind reading YA, then this will be a good time. Still, I think I obviously, well, I enjoyed it enough to recommend it. Would I say that it's like the best thing ever? Well, no, but it definitely centers very much around like high school and university, like waiting for acceptance letters and stuff like that. Very like high school politics, which is funny because your friends are literally being murdered. You should not be thinking about prom queen right now, but you know, it'd be how it'd be. I also have This Delicious Death that features kind of a weird post-apocalyptic world where humans want to eat brains, but they are like, they're still alive in a way, like they're functioning like normal humans because of these synthetic brains that a company made. And we have these 4 best friends that go to celebrate their graduation like they're all zombies, but then things take a turn where when they go to this festival to celebrate the graduation, and they start actually craving human flesh and human brains again, because the synthetic meat's not doing it for them. There's a lot of allegories about LGBT communities here, about family acceptance, and a real show of female friendship. It is definitely youthful and a bit YA, but it's a good. Then I have unnervingly heartwarming, and I think My Best Friend's Exorcism fits this perfectly. It's about 2 best friends, and one of them gets possessed after getting lost in the woods for hours. Or at least her best friend thinks she's possessed, because fuck knows. Who knows, really? It takes a little bit for that to kick into the story, but we get the possessed bestie wreaking havoc among their friend group and among the school, and it gets to the point where our main character realizes that she has to perform an exorcism. And I mean, hence the book title. This is very 80s. It is gruesome. There are scenes that live rent-free in my mind. There is a death of a dog, by the way, just to be aware. As far as I'm concerned, I don't mind spoiling that for people. Just be aware. I don't think it was necessary. That's why I took up half a star. But ultimately, throughout all of the horror, throughout all of the grossness, and there are gross moments, I think that exorcism stories and like possession stories definitely feature an interesting amount of grossness and ick factor, because obviously it's like an invasion of your body, so you have like lots of bodily fluids and lots of like, because obviously your body's basically being invaded by a parasite in a way. So yeah, we have a lot of that, but we also have this heartwarming aspect of female friendship and love and acceptance when no one else will accept you, and it has one of the most heartwarming, tear-inducing endings of a book that I've ever read, which is a big juxtaposition to the horror that we've just experienced, but it's something that Grady Hendrix does really well. So yeah, if somehow you've still not read this, which I think a lot of horror fans would have, because Grady Hendrix is huge in the horror community, do check this out. Then I got Vampire Bites Suck, and I have to recommend So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. Again, I feel like I'm recommending this book a lot, but it left a really positive impression on me. This features our main character, who is basically being cheated on by her husband, and she's resigned to it. She knows it's happening, she hates it, but she kind of also doesn't want to leave him either. And she ends up going on this retreat for her birthday with her bestie instead. That's how her husband arranges it, so that he could cheat while she's away. And these 2 besties end up in a vampire orgy, and things just go from there, because they get turned into vampires themselves after things go wrong at this event. And it's very much, it focuses on aging, it focuses on complacency in your life, stagnancy in your life, and it focuses on female friendship and how we need these connections in our lives to be able to pick ourselves up and realize when something is not good for us and when we should step away from something. And it also features some vampire lore as well, but that's not the forefront of the story. But yeah, I need to read more of Rachel Harrison's work. Somehow it's still the only one full-length novel of hers that I read, and I know that I don't want it to be that way, but obviously there's just so much to catch up on, but I'm excited to. And I have the last couple. So Weight Loss Journey. The book is downstairs, so I'm not gonna bring it up, but it is a short story collection, actually. She's Always Hungry by Eliza Clark, and it deals with like all sorts of interesting topics in almost like a speculative way. I actually do still have a video up that ranks all the short stories in the collection from my least favorite to most favorite, and there's a story that specifically focuses on our main character looking into ways to lose weight, and she stumbles upon, I believe it's a website that shows her how to do it, and it gets dark real quick. It is a short story, it's like, I don't know, 15 pages or less, but it's still a good time. And then lastly, I have Your Soul Is Mine, which is basically like a deal with the devil sort of situation, and I'm just going to recommend a book that, even though I have recommended this book multiple times in the past, I think that it still stands to recommend it because it's one of my favorite books of all time now, and I want to keep talking about it, and it is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Don't think you can see it. It's like in a pile, I don't want to lift it up. But it features a woman who makes a deal with the devil, kind of not realizing what it entails. So she doesn't want to marry this man in the 18th century France because she doesn't want this life that her mother and her mother lived before her. But the price for this immortality of sorts is that whenever she leaves the room, no one's going to remember her name, so she spends 300 years living like a shadow in the world. She doesn't age and she doesn't get sick or anything, but she still gets hungry. But obviously she can't, imagine you can't hold a job, you can't do anything really, because no one will remember you, and she can't even like write her name on anywhere, not a piece of paper, not a phone, whatever. She can't, like, she doesn't exist really. She's just there to, I don't know, waver, and the devil, he just waits for her to crack and say that this is done so that he can take her soul, but she's holding on, and then one day she finally meets a man who remembers her, and it changes everything. It's a beautiful book, it's a beautiful story. I would love to read it again. I probably will at some point. I don't reread books often just because my list is so massive. It's a lot easier to rewatch a movie or a show and have it on the background while I'm doing something, because obviously I already know the storyline, so it's just refreshing it in my mind. But rereading a book actually takes time, unless I wanted to re-listen on audio, but I would prefer to reread it. You get my dilemma here. But anyway, these are the books. Like I said, I skipped some letters. I think next time I try something like this, I'm gonna do something a little different. I think maybe something a bit less specific, so I could maybe recommend like a mini list of books and kind of make it like a master list of tropes. I think there was a website that I saw on the Can-Do ages ago. Maybe I'll do my version of Rex from that, if I can find it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you found some of these recs useful. If you have any recommendations that match these tropes, or just like anything that you think I would enjoy based on what I recommended here that I loved, then please do comment, and I hope to see you next time.